Good morning, Meridian Point Church. Thank you all for being here. Just really quickly, come set your rule and reign in our hearts again. Come set our hearts ablaze with hope, like wildfire in our very souls. Holy Spirit, come invade us now. We are your church. We need your power in us. We seek your kingdom first. We hunger and we thirst.
Service was packed. I think everybody wanted to make sure they get home and a nice day and all. So you can say hello to everybody here today. So turn around, introduce yourself to someone, say hi. Did I turn it off by habit? No, I didn't. What's that? Huh? One, to welcome you this morning. Want to let you know, as summer is going on, to cool it down in here, we have our handy-dandy swamp cooler there. So just to give you a heads up, for those of you that get too cold and all, this is like Antarctica over here, more towards the equator in that back corner. So if you want to if you're a cold person, you want to sit back there. If you're somebody that likes having, you're overly warm, you can sit up here. So I would preach from right in front of that thing if I could. Starcy is running every time she's done playing to get out of the way. So I want to welcome you this morning. A lot of things going on. Want to bring you some information as we continue on. Number one is Carol Stancer, who has been our children's minister for the last couple of years. This will be her last Sunday. She's over at our Hills congregation. she's moving on to some other stuff. We'll still be around. You'll still see her and all, but she won't be doing that formally. And so if you get a chance to see her, say thank you. And we just appreciate her ministry the last couple of years. Also, you'll be seeing, we are planning on coming August, we will have a children's minister that will be assigned to this congregation. So each congregation is going to have somebody that's connected to them in the children's ministry areas, and we'll be introducing those people to you throughout July, so you'll get to meet them. And so we've got a lot of exciting things coming along that lines. Also, Dennis and Anna Blaisdell, who are going to be starting up our new, Tanya, I see that you moved, so that was impressive. So yeah, Dennis and Anna Blaisdell have come. They're going to be in the coming year, and so they arrived and got moved in last week. They'll be starting July 1st full time, and so Sunday of July he'll be presenting the message and he'll introduce himself, and so you'll get to know him better on that Sunday. So I want to encourage you to be here for that. And then finally, we have our Christ and Youth Conference coming up. That is for our senior high students. We now have 70 going, senior hires, and there's of ours are in church about 1,500. They're taking about 55. And we went, so we are taking a lot of kids to that. And that is my shorthand way to say, we just wrote a check for about $25,000 for scholarships, transportation, to get them all there. And so if you're able to be generous at the time, it would be appreciated. Okay, so we give regularly to help plant the new church. With that coming, youth ministries are growing. There's just a lot going on. So if you're able to be generous and you're feeling God calling you to help us out financially, it would be appreciated. We don't have children's church today. Our kids are in here with us. And them a heads up. When you see on the screen, you should have gotten a word search when you came in. Word searches, you can go grab one of those right now off the information desk. And when you see a word on the screen underlined, write down the word, find it in a puzzle. When you're done, take that puzzle to the information desk and they'll have a little prize or treat or a snack for you out there. And so I want to encourage you to do that. What I want the kids the book of 1 Samuel, and here's what's been happening so far. There's been this little boy, his name is Samuel, and he is pledged by his mom to God to serve in God's tabernacle, the place where people would come to worship. And so he has been growing up there. He has been learning to be a priest for God, and when the corrupt priests before him are killed in battle, Samuel ends up leading the country of Israel. But his sons also become corrupt. His sons become corrupt leaders. King, God has been our king. God is our king anymore either. The other places have. We want a human king. And so God agrees to demand and says, you're going to regret it, but I'll let you have a human king. And so the first king is a man named Saul. And God sets some limits on what the king can do in Israel so that the king doesn't start thinking that he is God. But Saul decides he knows better than God does. And he starts making his own decisions. He starts disobeying God. And because of that, God says, I'm done blessing you and I'm going to replace you. You are no longer going to be my king. And so that's where we pick up the account today. Saul has now been told your family is not going to continue on as king. I'm going to pick somebody new. So I want you to turn to someone around you, and here's where we're going to start. Turn to someone around you and tell them who your favorite superhero is. Your favorite superhero. Turn to someone around you. Your favorite superhero. The Flash. A lot of people like The Flash. My son loves The Flash. So, yeah, that's who I'm. So my favorite superhero is Green Arrow. That's always been my favorite. When I was a little boy, I was probably 5 or 6, my grandfather gave me his comic book collection and this stack of comics. And from there on out, I was hooked on superheroes. I collected comics for years and years and years. When I moved here, I had all those like superhero action figures and all. Those things are worth like $800 a piece now. My mom got rid of them all when I moved to college. They were in a box and we never found them again. I'm going, oh, somebody got lucky with those. I had a large comic collection, probably over 5,000 comics. When I moved here and we were loading them into the moving truck, I was literally giving them to teenagers going, just take a box, because I can't even fit all these in here. Just take them. I sold the collection a while back for a good amount and got rid of them. I have seen all the superhero movies, and maybe because it's that idea of just really always being enthralled with superheroes, I have always loved the account that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the account of David and Goliath, probably one of the most famous accounts in the Bible. And it's not about a superhero, but it is better than being about a superhero because this is a true account. This really happened. This is history. This is not a fairy tale. This is not some kind of just cute story you tell your kids. This really happened. And what this account teaches us, it teaches us how we can be heroes. Not superheroes, but we can be heroes for God, which is even better. And so the account of David is going to tell you, what do you need to do if you want to be a hero? So here's the first thing you have to know. If you want to be, you've got to have heart. You got to have the right heart. So Saul has been disobedient to God. God has said to his prophet Samuel, I'm sending you to go find a new king. And that's where we pick up not exactly our first glimpse, because he kind of gets overlooked at the very beginning here. Samuel comes and he tells David's dad Jesse, he says, call out all of your sons because God is going to anoint one of them as king. And we find that Jesse brings out all of his sons except one, David. David isn't even called. When he says, bring all of your sons, David is the youngest, and he's left out in the field watching sheep. So why isn't David called? Well, knowing Samuel is coming to anoint a king, Jesse figures it's not going to be the youngest, all right? It's going to be one of the older sons. How many of you are the youngest in your family, all right? So you know how lame you are, right? Being an oldest child, all right? See? Bella's agreeing. Boston, just sorry, all right? This is how it goes. You youngest kids, you know how all the older siblings get all the attention, right? All right, you know how all the good DNA had been lost at that point, all right? Your parents are tired at this point. They're just kind of like, oh, you know how it works. I don't even remember my younger brother's name, all right? It's something. He lives in Oklahoma somewhere, but come on. Youngest kid? So David is kind of forgotten in all this. Look at verse 6 of chapter 16. You poor younger kids. All right? When they arrived, Samuel took one look at Eliab and thought, surely this is the Lord's anointed. Eliab is the oldest son. And he comes out and he stands before Samuel, and he must have been impressive. He was probably a really big guy. He's good looking. And Samuel goes, that's king material. That has got to be the king. I mean, he's the oldest son. Gotta be king. But we find out God isn't impressed with the oldest kid. Doesn't impress him at all. Matter of fact, look at verse 7 of chapter 16. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. All of Jesse's sons are called out to meet Samuel, but God looks at them and says, it's not them. I know they may look like a king. I know they may look good, but I am not looking at their physical appearance. I am looking at their hearts. All of Jesse's sons are called to meet Samuel, but God says, I haven't picked any of them. And they get to the last son, and God says, nope, not him either. And Samuel goes, you got any other sons? And Jesse's like, well, I mean, yeah, David, the youngest, he's out in the field. So why is David completely overlooked? Well, here's our description of David. Maybe this gives us another clue. Look at verse 12. It says this, so Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, this is the one, anoint him. The word here that the New Living Translation translates as dark and handsome isn't quite what the translation says. Here's what most translations that are more literal, they stick to the original language a little bit more closely. They all say something like this. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. A lot of the verses, and the New Living Translation uses this later, which is why I don't understand how they translated it, use the word ruddy. The same word is used in the King James Version. The literal translation of the Hebrew word there has this connotation of fair, kind of soft, maybe lighter complected. And in English, I was looking, the best translation would probably be something like this. David was cute. He had nice eyes. The New Living Translation tries to toughen him up a little, but the original language is kind of like, David was cute. I mean, he's not ugly. He's cute. Now, I'll tell you what, when I was a young man, I did not want to be called cute, all right? I was always the cute one. You wanted to be hot, all right? That's what you wanted to be. You don't want to be cute. You want to be piano tie on, all right? And David is a musician. Good looks. All you need is a good heart. A right heart. For you to be a hero, to be bigger, you need to be stronger. You don't need to be better looking or more popular or better speaker or taller or thinner or bigger or older or richer. God doesn't care. Nope, David, yep, he's the one. And David goes, seriously? Yeah, man, you're king. I'm going to be king. Yep. And now David's going like, all right, time to be a hero. I'm king. And you know what Samuel tells David to go do? Go back to the sheep. Okay, you're king. Go back and watch the sheep. What? No. I mean, my brothers just saw me. I mean, this is impressive. No, go back to just ordinary life again. Here's the thing. Most of the time, God just calls his heroes to daily living. Look at Colossians chapter 3. One of the things I love about the Old Testament is how it just gives us illustrations of spiritual truths that we find in the New Testament. This is Colossians 3, 23 and 24. Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward, and that the master you are serving is Christ. Want to know if you have the heart of a hero? How do you handle the ordinary daily stuff of life? How do you handle just ordinary life? Do you do your best in school? Do you show up on time at your job? Or do you call in sick when you're not really sick? Are you respectful of your parents, of those around you? What's it take to be one of God's heroes? Just doing the best at everyday life. Then you will be ready when God says, I need a hero. The next thing we find is if you want to be a hero, you have the right point. A little bit in time. Time passes. It just goes back to watching the shows. And when he starts getting depressed, or he starts overly angry, they bring in a band to play. And to play music for him, to calm him down and to cheer him up. And David has become part of the band. So he's going back and forth between his job as watching the sheep and his gig as a harp player in the king's band, all right? They've got what's called a Champions Challenge that is going. Basically, when two armies gathered to fight in ancient times, if they wanted, they could make a deal and they could say, let us send our best warrior to fight your best warrior, and then nobody else has to die, only one person has to die, and whoever wins gets to make a slave out of the other side. The Philistine challenge is a guy named Goliath. And here's what he says. Look at chapter 17, 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 17, verses 8 through 10. Goliath stood and shouted a taunt across the Israelites. Why are you coming out to fight? He called. I am the Philistine champion, but you are only the servants of Saul. Choose one man to come down here and fight me. If he kills me, then we will be your slaves. But if I kill him, you will be our slaves. I defy the armies of Israel today. Send me a man who will fight me. Goliath is the ultimate worldly hero. This is a warrior's warrior. We are told at the beginning of chapter 17 what Goliath looks like. If you're a kid, come up front for a minute. You don't have to do anything. Just come on up front. Let me show you something. Okay? How you doing, Boston? Liking the new home?
Yeah.
Good.
Kind of disappointed.
Are you?
Kind of.
Come on up. All right. So here's what we're told about Goliath. You ready for this? He's 9 foot tall. I'm 6 foot tall. This yardstick is how much? 3 feet.
3 feet.
This is 9 foot tall.
Whoa.
Here's the dude he's going to have to fight. He's 9 foot tall, terrified and deeply shaken. Saul goes, I mean, he looks like a hero, but what does he not have? He doesn't have heart. He doesn't have the heart for it. So he then tries to motivate somebody else to go fight Goliath. Hey, he says to his men, he ain't going to do it, but he's going to try to get others. Have you seen the giant, the men asked? He comes by Israel. The king has offered him a huge reward to anyone who kills him. He will give that man one of, here's what he says. Don't worry about this Philistine, David said to Saul. I'll go fight him. Go, what? You? Come on. Oh, that can't be. All stop at some point as motivation. But the person seeing things with the heart of God is motivated to do the right thing just because it's the right thing. Who's defying my God? It seems like the right thing to do would be go take him out. And so away goes David. See, many people don't understand this differently. Actually, we find out David's brothers start mocking him. Who do you think you are, kid? A family. Go home. What do you mean you're going to go fight him? Knock it off. Answers his critics, all these people that start telling him he can't do it. Look at verses 34 through 37. But David persisted. I've been taking care of my father. No, I'm not going to do this the whole time, all right? I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I have done this to both lions and bears, and I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too, for he defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from the Philistine. You want to be a hero for God? You have to get things from the world's perspective. Remember, he's got a right heart. He sees God behind things. What's it take you to do the right thing? All the motivation God's heroes need is knowing what God would want them to do. All you should need to motivate you if you want to be God's hero. That leads to the next thing we learn about God's heroes. They're not comfortable with the world's weapons. All right, here's the big mystery to me in this entire account. Why does Saul give in eventually? Saul eventually goes, okay, I'm going to send the preteen pretty boy harp player to represent the country and fight with a sincere heart for God. I've known innumerable teenagers where I just go, amazing. Trip somewhere. Not be worried about money. Talk to their friends unashamedly. Invite people to things like crazy. I remember we were doing a CIY conference one year. We kids. Took 6, and our teens go, you know what, we should make it a goal double. I'm going like, okay, that's one year we took 35. Next year, how many do we have to take? 70. I'm going, there's no way we could take 70 kids. We lived in a town of 128 people. I'm going, there's no way we can take 70. And I started walking. They saw 2 guys from school that were seniors, just were graduating that year, and went up to them and said, hey, we're going to the CIY thing next week. The church pays your way. If it's your first time going, you want to go? And they both said yes. One of them's a youth minister today now. The courage of a young person who goes, I don't think it's impossible. I think there's part of that about David that Saul goes, I like your enthusiasm, kid. But I also think Saul knew God could do it. He just wasn't willing to take the step of faith. But for whatever reason, he then decides, okay, David, go for it. So take chapter 17, verses 38 and 39. Then Saul gave David his own armor, a bronze helmet and a coat of mail. David put it on, strapped the worn such things before. Now, what do we know about Saul physically? Tallest guy in Israel. David, little preteen guy. I mean, it's hanging off him. It just is ridiculous. David can't move. It's just huge on him. And so here's what David says. I can't go in these, he protested Saul. I'm not used to them. So David took them off again. He picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream and put them into his shepherd's bag. Then, armed only with his shepherd's staff and a sling, he started across the valley to fight the Philistine. God's heroes aren't comfortable with the weapons of the world. They don't need to look or fight like the world does. Hey, look, I know this is how you fight. I know this is how you think I should look. It's just not me. I'm going to be me. What weapons do people with the world's perspective use? Got to get an A on that test? Cheat. Someone gossiping about you? Spread a rumor about them. Get caught doing something wrong? Lie about it. Want to be accepted? Smoke it or drink it, you'll fit in. Ephesians tells us these are the weapons a Christian is supposed to use to fight tough battles. Look at Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6, 13 through 17. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor so you will be able to resist the enemy in time of evil. Then after the battle, you will be standing firm. Stand your ground. There are those who never do anything but prepare. Sunday after Sunday. You know all the stuff. You are prepared to go. You are ready to hit it, but we never hit. But when the time comes, well, maybe God will give me another opportunity. Well, I don't know if this is the right time. Thing yet. See, you need to prepare, but you can't use it as an excuse to avoid action. You don't need to have the Bible graduate from a Christian college. You don't have to be a minister. You don't have to wait till you're 60 years old. If your heart is right and God is calling, then take the rocks you have and go. Fight. Join the battle. The fight is going to... No, the fight will be won. Get involved. Enough preparation. That's why I like this next part about being God's hero. They run to the... approaches the valley and Goliath. So this little boy comes out, and Goliath is standing on the other side, and says, David heads into the valley. Look at 1 Samuel chapter 7. Staring in contempt at this ruddy-faced boy, this little cute kid. Am I a dog, he roared at David, that you come with a stick? And he crushed the birds and wild animals. Goliath trash. God are going to date you when you get in the battle. They will not take you seriously. They will call you all kinds of names. They want you to head back up that ridge and go back to your side. But remember, they don't get it. And David yells right back. And at this point, I think it's appropriate to use David's voice. David replied to the Philistine, you come to me with sword, spear, and javelin. I'm just thinking David going like, am I doing this right? But I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's army, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today, the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you, and I will cut off your head. All right, I got him. And then I will give the dead bodies of your men to the birds and wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us. Notice Goliath. I. My favorite verse in this entire account. Goliath, David quickly ran out rumbling, and David goes, oh yeah. A true, do you invite friends eagerly? Do you share your faith eagerly? Do you look for ways to please God at all times? Or do you kind of slowly creep to the challenge? Do you God goes in charge? And here's how it ends. What? Going on? This little kid thinks, I never tell you. How many of you, Lord, which must, and I see that at this point, the Philistines run, and the Israelites come, and they chase them, and they slaughter them all the way back, asking this question. Look at chapter 17, verses 55 through 58. As Saul watched David, the commander of his army, Abner replied, well, a glimpse of the power of God himself in you, and hopefully they then find your father. When those around you, who do you serve? Where'd you learn that? Do they want to know why you live the way you do? Do they see it's not for you, but it's for the glory of your Father? If they do,
awesome God that you are. A God of power, grace, and mercy. A God that sent his Son to sacrifice for our sins. And we thank you for that, God. The God who goes before us to clear the fight for us and overcome all the armies of evil. And evil all around us, and I pray that you'll give us the strength to run forward, to run to the front line like David, to take on those enemies.
Perfect in all of your ways.
to our